Great games for girls, for girls, for girls, for girls, for girls.
Shock horror! A new study links loot boxes to problem gambling. If only someone for over 5 years had been saying that everything that's come to pass with the loot boxes would come to pass. If only a Cassandra of video games didn't have to eat shit as people told them they were wrong and making mountains out of molehills and never mind Commander Sterling and the Jim Sterling brand being shut out of the conversation entirely. The same happens in wrestling. I mean, the things I pioneer, the things I start. Just consider these accomplishments. I am the first openly queer title holder in wrestling in Mississippi and Alabama. I am the first non-cis possessor of a major Pittsburgh Promotions top title because I am Rise's champion regent. Of course loot boxes are gambling. After weeks of rumours and suggestions and legitimate worries for the future of thousands of works in an artistic medium, Sony confirmed that yes, it would be shutting down the PlayStation Store across 3 past consoles, effectively terminating the legal avenue through which a vast majority of games can be acquired. What's more, a number of these games will be completely unattainable forever unless bought and stored on hardware between now and July. Well, I say bought, but we'll get onto the advocacy of digital larceny later. Games with a physical edition, by virtue of their tangible existence, have some measure of guaranteed preservation, but Sony's complete lack of respect for video games as an artistic medium means a huge quantity of games will simply be flung into oblivion to save Sony a negligible amount of money. According to reports, over 2,000 digital-only games will disappear forever thanks to Sony axing these storefronts suddenly and without regard for historic value. Of course, the only value corporations believe in is monetary, and sadly for them, there's just no cash in respecting an entire medium. Actually, if you look at their behaviour, there's a lot more cash in active disrespect. Game site VGC ran the estimates to see how big a creative loss we're talking here. Some 630 Vita games, 730 PS3 games, 293 PlayStation Minis, remember them? 336 PS2 classics and 260 PS1 classics will be unattainable when the 3 stores are shut down this summer. Many of these represent more inconvenience than crime against archival. You can technically play the original Silent Hill with a PSX and a physical disc, but at least 120 digital-only exclusives will be very genuinely lost forever. I am in fact cutting this little line in because the full list says it's over 120. That's about 138 according to the recent list of games that you just won't be able to play anymore. Such lost games include The Last Guy, Tokyo Jungle, Luminous Supernova, and Rain. It also includes infamous Festival of Blood, which PlayStation Lifestyle points out isn't even 10 years old. In fact, the PS Vita itself, if you can believe it, is only 9 years old. It hasn't even made a decade before literally losing a portion of its library forever. And on the subject of the Vita, it turns out the developers who were still working on games for the system were not even made aware of the store closures by Sony whatsoever. Developers who reached out to Sony after the rumors circulated wanted were actively ignored by the company, and as a result didn't get a confirmation that the stores were closing until the general public did. This has led to at least one game already cancelling the Vita version, while another is now working hard to get the game out before it can't be bought. In order to still have a chance to be bought, any upcoming PS Vita game now needs to be ready for Sony's approval by July 6th, and the game must be submitted to the store by July 12th. On July 20th, no new content can come to the store at all. This is, of course, a great thing Sony did that totally didn't do a bunch of indie devs fucking dirty. I have thoughts in general about what a colossal waste of opportunity and potential the PS Vita was, and how Sony's constant dropping of older hardware when it has new toys to play with is fucking infuriating. Suffice to say, the PS Vita is why I never get invested in anything Sony puts out. Sony itself gets too fucking bored of shit to do any investment, so why should I fucking care? Do you remember all the PS1 classics that were going to come to Vita? And then they didn't fucking bother. They put a handful up, and you could get some from the PS3 if you used fucking swings and roundabouts to fucking get there. Fucking waste of time. Do you remember Bioshock? Do you remember there's going to be a Bioshock on the PS Vita? Do you remember when PS Vita? I do. It was a fucking good system. The point of all this is to say that it's morally acceptable to pirate all of Sony's games. When a company decides it doesn't want to sell you something anymore, a company pretty much tanks the biggest argument it has against piracy. You know, that one they always use, that an unlawfully downloaded copy of a game represents a lost sale. Now, that argument has been and always will be complete fucking bollocks. There is no one-to-one guarantee that a pirate would have bought a game if only legal options were available. Oh, if only ifs and buts were candy and nuts. Fucking amazing for millionaires to try that shit. There is just as much chance that a pirate simply wouldn't bother at all, and as has been proven time and time again, piracy is largely a service problem. It's not just a snappy thing Gabe Newell said once, it's true. If you make it both affordable and convenient to access entertainment content, it works. And people make money. It worked for streaming TV before they started making it expensive and complicated again, and now all I want to do is pirate NBC Universal programming, whether I watch it or not, just on sheer principle. Like that Mulan on Disney. Pirate the fuck out of it. Make you pay for a streaming service and then $30 on top for a movie. Fucking steal it. Steal it. We need to stop pretending piracy is a forbidden art, something games media won't talk about because it's some great big taboo and only a thing thieves and ruffians talk about. Hell, I used to have a dim at best view of piracy, but I kind of stopped worrying about it when it became apparent to me that the corporations whining about theft are the biggest thieves of all. You can't steal from corporations. It's called reclamation. In fact, since a company like Activision Blizzard pays zero tax and somehow gets a refund that we all have to pay, I actually condone and encourage piracy of Activision's games. I got no problem saying that right now. As far as I'm concerned, we've all paid Activision and then some. Every single fucking year that company steals from every single taxpayer in America. So please, don't ever tell me to my face that it's wrong to pirate Activision games, because I will laugh so fucking hard that your ears will bleed. But to the more precise point, it's simply true that Sony would prefer you to have no legal means to purchase these games anymore. Very well. Steal them. I will always maintain the exception for the indie shit where a small studio needs the money, but if it's benefiting publishers, fuck it. Steal it now. Steal it liberally. Steal it not just because games deserve to be archived and preserved, but for the simple reason that Sony has indirectly permitted it. It has indirectly said that you should definitely get a PS Vita, definitely jailbreak it, and definitely load that fucker up with everything that'll go missing. And then, if you want, you should just go ahead and pirate everything Sony has ever published or ever will, because according to Sony's own leadership, its games literally have no fucking value. Oh, why would anyone play this? So goes the famous quote by Sony's head of sales and global marketing, Jim Ryan. He said this in response to questions regarding backwards compatibility back in 2017, and his sneering, ignorant, frankly pathetic attitude speaks volumes to the dismissive and disrespectful way Sony views games. According to Ryan, old games are too ugly to be worth buying and playing, and in his atrociously narrow view, games of a certain age stage simply have no worth.
When we've dabbled with backwards compatibility, I can say it is one of those features that is much requested but not actually used much, he dribbled. That, and I was at a Gran Turismo event recently where they had PS1, PS2, PS3 and PS4 games, and the PS1 and PS2 games, they looked ancient. Like, why would anybody play this?
I have to say, looking back, there's a real fucking irony to Ryan's words, considering the PS5 is so goddamn bereft of shit to play on it that backwards compatibility is the only fucking reason I switched the bastard on. But to the point, Jim Ryan doesn't care if you steal PlayStation games. He's already said nobody wants them. He can't understand why you would. If you ever see one of those PlayStation classics, shoplift it. I've decided he's given tacit endorsement to the act of stealing the fuck out of everything he has to sell. According to Ryan, any game that doesn't look modern is literally worthless, and since game graphics are constantly evolving, every single Sony game is destined to look like complete shit in his imbecilic view. So steal them. Ryan doesn't mind. In fact, he probably thinks piracy is really, really cool, especially if it's his company you're pinching from. Do it. Do what mummy says. I can't keep encouraging that shit. Ryan's attitude, while hypocritical considering the game industry has no problem constantly reselling old shit back to us, is merely indicative of what happens when AAA video games and our socio-economic system intertwine. It is that special brand of capitalism I like to call triple-apitalism, and it highlights that no matter how creative an industry is, once the shareholders and the executives get a hold of it, all creativity flies out of the window. It flies out the window because they don't get it. Jim Ryan doesn't get why you'd play an older looking game. He doesn't get the retro market. He doesn't get demakes or games developed specifically to invoke 90s or 2000s visuals. He doesn't get that you might play an old game just because it's, you know, fun. And at that point, can you say that Jim Ryan even gets video games? I argue that you can't. Almost by design, he doesn't get them. Giving a shit about games gets in the way of harsh, callous, archivally criminal moves such as shutting down 3 entire storefronts with very little warning and not even bothering to tell the developers. Giving a shit about games gets in the way of vandalizing them with marketing-approved meddling, predatory monetization systems, and the carving up of content to resell at a premium. Giving a shit about games gets in the way of making an excessive amount of cash, so much cash it's inconceivable by limited human imagination, and funnels in torrents to a handful of already incredibly wealthy executives. Fun fact is, a man like Jim Ryan doesn't give a fuck about games. None of them do. Certainly not in the United States. Jim Ryan would happily work as a marketing head for Burger King, or Sears, or Fox, or anything, so long as there's a fuck ton of money in it. And Jim Ryan is the people who run the game industry, willfully ignorant and possessed of a tunnel vision that sees only cash at the expense and ignorance of everything else. Ultimately, no game company does anything it sees no value in. Sony sees no value in selling over 2,000 games, and you know what? Maybe from one cold and cynical viewpoint there isn't. I don't know how much they were making off them. But rather than, say, making the games freely available, putting them up for download, do something with them other than axe the store entirely, Sony chose the most brutal and unresolvable option possible, and in the process, sending the message that piracy is not only justifiable from the sense that Sony doesn't want your money, but downright necessary to ensure entire fucking video games don't disappear off the face of the planet. Also, steal from dumpsters outside of grocery stores, and then give all the food, the perfectly good food that they've wasted, to people. You know they guard some of that shit to stop people taking the food that will otherwise just rot. Just mountains and mountains of perishable goods going to waste because it didn't sell, but companies wouldn't just give it away. They would rather destroy it. They would rather destroy their own inventory than help people who might need it. These companies have oodles of stuff that they don't need, that has no value to them, and they will still hoard it. Like a billionaire with so much money. Or a publisher with 2,000 plus games that it doesn't want to sell you. You see, it's related, the games and the wider. You see, there's parallels. For those who think this show is too political, there's parallels. You gotta think about stuff. Also long plays, like they wanted to get rid of long plays, and some of the time you can actually see a video game that they don't want to sell you, so them too. I mean, I'm just saying, I like the Source series, but I sure as fuck ain't gonna buy one of those games. I'd rather just watch it. It's not stealing, it's reclamation. So we never actually filmed an outro for this video, but I found this old outtake, so you can listen to that. Thank God for me. I wish I had 3 bottles. You seen that? Yeah, you get 3 bottles. You'd have seen a parody of it.
Oh, okay.
Gilson come out to play you know, if he came out to play with me and just some bottles on the floor, you know, it'd be a better game than anything he's ever fucking made. Just spin it. Who do you like? How's that for slander? Slander. It's fun, kids. What good things I'm doing.